Tamara Fackrell here, your personal YouTube marriage expert. Today, I'm going to tell you some secrets about the difference between logic-based males, emotion-based females, and 3 amazing tips on how you can bridge those gaps. I have got some amazing ideas I'm going to share with you today regarding some different processing in your conflict resolution, one of my favorite topics, conflict resolution. So we've got 2 types of people. We've got the emotion-based people and the logic-based people. And I know that people are all over the place, but the majority of women are emotion-based and the majority of men are logic-based. So I'm going to go with that premise today, okay? So here we've got the husband, and here's the thing about the men then. Guess how many emotions they have? Can you guess? Well, I can tell you with one hand. It's only 5 emotions. And then how many emotions do you think a woman has? Well, I can't tell you because there are so many, but I'm going to say 55 at least. So, a man feels joy. A woman feels happy, overjoyed, thrilled, cheery, excited, curious, optimistic, elated. There's all these different types of emotion. A man feels love. Oh, but not a woman. She feels caring or passionate or compassionate or attracted, devoted, all of these different levels. A man feels, number 3, sadness. A woman feels depressed, disappointed, unhappy, disheartened, grouchy. Watch out for that one. Helpless. There's all of these ranges. A man feels, number 4, anger. A woman feels irritated, annoyed, frustrated, jealous, upset. A man feels, number 5, fear. A woman feels hurt, timid, scared, restless, terrified, nervous. There's all these levels. And so can you see how we can have a translation problem when we've got these 5 emotions and these 55 emotions? I'm going to give you 3 quick tips to relate with the other side. Here we go. Now, if you are the logic-based person, the men in this example, you think first, you feel second. And this is really hard because guess then all of your feelings are in little tiny thinking boxes. And you're like, no, not the thinking boxes. I want some raw emotion. Where the wife feelings-based person, she feels first and thinks second. And you're like, not the love heart thinking. Please, can we just be linear and rational? So the processing is completely different. So one thing that you can do if you're logic-based is you can express raw emotion to your wife. And you're like, wait, Tamara, I don't have raw emotion. I don't know what raw emotion is. Or you're like, I know what raw emotion is. That's when I get really angry. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the good, yummy, lovey stuff. I'm talking about the joy. I'm talking about the love. I'm talking about the sadness. So when something good happens at work, there is a very brief moment, and I'm telling you, it is brief, where you have a raw emotion before you put it through your little filter. So while you're still excited about the news, you call your favorite person in the world, that's your wife, on the phone, and you're like, wifey, I've got the best news, and you put a little heart into it. Now, remember what happened when you were little? So you fell down on the ground, and guess what? What'd your dad say to you? We all know what he said. Get up, wipe yourself off. You're fine, you're fine. See, you just learned to kind of bottle these emotions up. That's why you only have 5. So when you have something and it's good news, you're gonna express it with your wife. Now, believe it or not, wives also like to hear when you're sad. It's like that raw crying emotion. No, men never cry. I hear people say, I've seen my husband cry like twice in my life. I get it. You don't have to cry and make it a show. But if you had sadness, you have that emotion, express it immediately. Okay? That's that one. Now, number 2, I'm going to teach the emotion-based people how to connect a little bit more with that logic-based husband. So here's what we do. You have to unhook your emotional batteries. And it comes through training your own mind. So in a place where you'd usually be getting quite emotional, you hire yourself as your own attorney. That's what you do. You hire yourself, and your attorney self debates why you should not be feeling emotional about it and tries to think, well, what was their intent? I shouldn't be feeling like you would be talking to your best friend. You tell yourself why you shouldn't be feeling emotional, and you start to build up those responses. Now, I know you can do it. Why? Because I did it. Here I'm standing as living proof that this can actually be done. Training for 6 weeks, playing the advocate for the other side helps you unhook your emotional batteries. But here's the funny part of the story. The funny part of the story is, so I told my husband, like, I'm good, like, I'm getting into my logic center sometimes. It doesn't mean the emotion goes away. I can turn that back on, but I've got this little switch. So I said, look, I've written this thing and I want you to read it and I want you to give me just really candid feedback. So he reads it through and he gives me the candid feedback, and it was candid feedback. Both of those things. And I have tears streaming down my face. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm logically thinking about this. So, when you're trying it for your first 2 times, it's not perfect. And you might cry as you're trying to be like the logic person. But being logical can really, really help. And so that main tip that I want to teach the emotion-based people is to logicize. Do you want your way with your husband? Logicize it. You're like, Tamara, what is that? I know I made up that word. That's why you've never heard it before. Here's what it is. You figure out what you want. Whatever it is. You take all the emotion and all the story behind it and you throw it in the garbage. And then you say to your husband, I want you to buy me that necklace. That's it, guys. You don't say anything more or less. You just tell them what you want. And guess what? A lot of times they'll do it. You want your way with your husband, you logicize. Now, you don't say, because we got in this big fight, you owe it to me. I've really wanted that. You don't go into that. You don't go into that. You just say exactly what you want in the shortest amount of words possible. And that's it. It's that simple. Now, my third tip goes for both of you. And this is something that's very interesting. So how does the man, no. How does the woman, let's start with her because she's a little more fun. How does the woman say she's sorry? I'm giving you time to think about it. It looks really good. It's really emotional and it's like, Jake, I am so sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I hope you'll forgive me. Like, it's expressive. It's good. They usually say sorry, even sometimes like 5 times. You're like, that's over the top sorriness. So that's how they say sorry. When they're sorry, they'll tell you. And usually they won't even just tell you once. They'll tell you like twice. Now, how does the husband say I'm sorry? Let me tell you a little story. So this is about a man apology. You have to understand this to understand that I'm sorry for the man-woman apology. So this is a true story. So there was a boss. He worked at a tire shop. And he was having a really big grouchy day. And he started yelling at his employees. And he was mean. And he should have apologized. But you know what? Of course, he didn't. He didn't apologize because that's like taking emotional responsibility for something and he doesn't have a lot of emotion. So why, therefore, would he take responsibility for it? So, but you know what he did? He went up to his employee who actually told me this story. And he said to him, you know, I'm not feeling that well. I think I'm going to go home. And the employee told me that was his way of saying I'm sorry, and he accepted it and honored it as a logic-based person. So I need to tell you that story so you can realize, like, logic-based people don't want to take responsibility for their emotions or actions. They don't want to say it through emotion-based words because they want to do it something more logical, just like he did. Like, hey, I'm not feeling good. Like, that means I'm sorry. Let's go. So, but with husbands, a lot of times when they're sorry, do you know what they'll say? If they're sorry, I'll tell it to you in 2 words. I'm sorry. Even maybe with that kind of face. I'm sorry. And you're like, and the emotion-based wife is like, you're not really sorry. Because if you were really sorry, you would be like, I'm sorry, at least, or you'd say like at least 10 words instead of 2. Like just something. But here's the thing that you need to realize. With the logic-based man, if he's not sorry, do you know what he'll say? Nothing. He will not own it. So those words from a logic-based person of I'm sorry, they're like a treasure in a box. They mean something special. But you just have to realize there's differences, and if you get the translation, you're gonna have a better marriage. So you take that I'm sorry when it comes, apologize more. Apologizing is the secret to a great marriage. Okay, I wanna hear your comments on different things between logic and emotion in your marriage. Make sure to like this video, subscribe of course, and don't forget to click that bell. I'll see you next week.